All right, so this is kind of a random recording. I thought this might be something fun because I was just planning on like thinking about a recital that would be coming up. Not my next one that I already have planned, but a following. And I thought it would be interesting if I went through my process with how I plan recitals. I often pick literature that not a lot of people know about, uh, but yeah, I pride myself on knowing a lot about horn literature. So first thing first here, I own a lot of horn solo lit, um, somewhere in the ballpark of 300. Oh, here's a cat, she jumped up. Ah, but somewhere in the ballpark of around 300 solos for horn, or horn and piano. Uh, Monkey, throw a cat. But yeah, so first what I would end up doing is I look at my inventory here. So it's what? -2 for more than I thought. So I have 368 pieces for solo horn. But yeah, so I go through these and I look at what the substantial work is that I would like to base a recital around. A substantial work to me is over 10 minutes. If it is over 15, that is what I consider my cornerstone work for the program. If the work that catches my eye is between 10 and 15, I end up picking two that are in that range. So usually like in the 12-minute range or so. But so I was thinking about this, and a piece that I thought was really interesting. All right, for all the noises, is the Saglieti suite for horn and strings. I got it right down here. It's there are versions. You guys are getting to enjoy monkey terrorizing me. All right, but so it is originally written for horn and string quartet, but there is a horn and piano version of it. I'd personally like to make this horn and string quartet version, but so I have that one. It's 12 minutes long, so I'll go over to here. Saglieti suite, and in parentheses, I'll put 12 minutes. But since I have that, and also I guess it's important also to mention, oh, come on, trying to get back to my thing. So it is also from 1992, because obviously we want to worry about the, I think keeps getting over there, years of the work. So we have that varied program. So 1992. Cool. So let's look for another piece that's in that 10-minute range that's not from the same time period. So if I scroll back up to the top, stuff that would fit could be the David Amram Concerto. I don't know if I'd want to do that because this is this is already a piece that features strings that I've already selected. Same with the Malcolm Arnold Second Concerto. Peter Askham, A Door into the Dark is interesting. That would fit. It isn't something that I am necessarily interested in though, so I'll keep looking. The Prague Sonata by Elizabeth Austin, but it's only 8 years different. So if I'm doing another substantial work, I don't think I would want to do that. I don't know that one too well. The Paul Bassler folk songs isn't bad. I don't have the ear for that, but I have a bunch of his stuff. Like a lot of Bassler. But the Beethoven Sonata wouldn't be a bad option. That is very, very different from the Saglieti. The Beversdorf Sonata is not a bad option. This is literally what I do. I go through this whole process. Let's look at like 12-minute or 11 or 12-minute pieces. What's that? That's the Elliott Carter Concerto, Caskin Serpents of Wisdom. What's that? The Gervini Songs of the Wolf I already have programmed this semester. No. Some of these I don't have durations for because there aren't any recordings of it currently out. So that's why I'm missing some of this there. But let's find something here. So that's the Gillingham Baker's Dozen. I don't know if it's worth the work going into it. The Bernard Haydn Sonata is not a bad option. That's an interesting piece. That's leading right now for me. Or the Hindemith E flat Sonata, that alto horn one. Horn nerds will probably know that one a little bit. The Horvitz Circus Suite's not a bad option. What year was that Hindemith? 1943. Let's go for that. So, Sonata in E flat. So it is 1943 and 12 minutes long. Okay. 12 minutes. 1943. So there are the two substantial works. Not too bad to go with there. So that's already 24 minutes of time. What I try to do, or somewhere like an average of 45. It could be 48 minutes total of music. It could be 42 minutes total of music, as long as it kind of fits within that window. I feel like that's a good chunk. With breaks, you'll be just under an hour for a program, or right about the hour mark, depending on if you're taking an intermission or not. She's going to end up knocking over a stack of books. All right. So something that we need to do then is I need to find something that is truly considered old. So the way I gauge that is well before 1900. If you are an undergraduate student planning a recital, some of your professors might make you do like the classical era, romantic era. You might have to do something baroque. So it's something that obviously is at the discretion of your teacher. But here, I'm just looking on my phone here because I know I have a recording that I want to try to find. So do I have this on my inventory? I do not yet. But I have a work by Johann Wenzel Kaliwoda. So if let me see here. So he was born in 1801 in Prague. So I think that this would definitely fit the parameters of older music. This is a 2-movement work that comes in at 9 minutes. It is called Introduction in Rondo. It is written for horn and orchestra. But so let's see here. So his name is Kalliwda. Knock something over. It comes in at 9 minutes. Let's see if we can find the year. Here, she's gonna knock something over. Type in year. Looks like 1834. So that definitely fits the idea of what to do here. Monkey, come on, dude. 1834. So that brings us up to 33 minutes. Something to take into account is that you don't necessarily want your piano player to have to play the entire program. In this case, I would ideally do the Saglietti with string quartet instead of piano. So that could be the break. However, I'll look at something that's kind of unaccompanied. That's not super long, but let's see here. On my spreadsheet for my organization, I do list what the accompaniment is with the solo. So as you can see, there are some unaccompanied works. So this one's Jeffrey Agril's Esprit de Corps. Don't have a duration for that, but this Calivial Solo X, it is such a cool piece, but it is one of those that is ridiculously hard. And with like having to play Hindemith and worrying about putting that together, this Kaliwoda is not easy. The Saglietta is not easy. 8 minutes of an atonal work might be a little tricky to pull off. So unfortunately, this would probably not be the program for that. David Amram, Blues and Variations from Monk. That's an interesting work. It isn't particularly long, coming in at about 6 minutes long average recorded duration, and it's jazzy. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to keep that one on the idea here. Gummy Polka, Denise Tryon did record that one, so that's a cool one. Just 2 minutes, kind of a little of one feature. Malcolm Arnold Fantasy. This one is interesting. So 1966, we don't really have a piece around that time frame, so that's pretty cool. Like, I mean, it's still like middle of the 20th century, but we got 1992, 1943, so it falls in between, and it is unaccompanied. So, you know, let's go with the Malcolm Arnold Fantasy. It's what did I have it listed at? 3 minutes? Or 5 minutes? All right. I think we said 1966. All right, so I have that now. That brings me up to, what was that, 24, 33, 38 minutes. So at most, I'd want to add is 12 more minutes in music. The Hindemith could be considered kind of a staple in the horn literature, but not as much as the traditional F sonata. But let me see here about something that would work. I don't have anything French right now. So we have like Hindemith, which we know is him. We have Kaliwoda from Prague. Malcolm Arnold, he's from England, I believe. And Saglietti is Italian. So let's look at something French that would be fitting. I mean, I instantly think about Bozza. I haven't performed any of his works. So let me scroll down here. Yeah, I have 3 of his pieces. Enforay from 41, Zule Jeans from 60, and then from 1974, that was that Entretiens. I totally butchered that, but that's all right. That one I just recently got, which actually I do have a hard copy of that now, so I can fix that. But it is hard. It is like, it's kind of ridiculous. It's very free at the beginning. Like the piano is super sparse, where the horn is doing some really wild things. But I whoops, inside that alarm going. But and actually I haven't performed on Foray. I don't know why I have that there. But you know, actually that would probably be not a bad option if I did on Foray. But let's see what else we got that would be good, but not over the top or something from like France. That one. I'm looking over in this column. I didn't completely finish it, but I do have some of the countries of origin. I put a lot of time into this. Actually, do I have anything kind of slower that's like a single movement? I do not. So a really interesting idea would be Damas's Berceuse. It's one of the more beautiful single movement, kind of fits in the same vein as like your Franz Strauss Nocturno, your little short, beautiful Gliers. So I think that would be a fun one to put in there that isn't particularly strenuous. Damas Berceuse. I probably misspelled that right now, but that's all right. And I believe it's 5 minutes. 5 minutes and 1951. All right. So that brings us up to 34, 43. Hi, monkey. So what we have, if I'm breaking this down, so this would be cornerstone. This would also be cornerstone, but what would be the difference between these two? This work is a very tonal, kind of a showier piece, so this would definitely be a closing work. Especially if you're bringing in the string quartet for it. I think that's a really interesting way to end a program. The Hindemith is kind of more fluid with its tonality. So I know it's not atonal, but I'll put atonal just to show the contrast between that and the Saglietti. And yeah, I think that's a good contrast there. The purpose of this work is older. And also it can work as an opener as well, being the introduction and rondo. It ends on a high C. Check out some recordings of this. It's a really cool piece. Do I have the horn player? Does it list it? Oh man, Radovan Vlakovic. I'm probably also mispronouncing that, but that's the album I have. But also technical opener. This one just being unaccompanied and also kind of more technical. This one being French, lyrical. So we have what we said, 43 minutes, right? Yeah. So let's look for one more piece that's around 5 minutes, or a potential upgrade on one of these for duration wise. Yeah, let's just see what we got. I don't really have a clear idea going into this, but so around the 5 minute range, that Graham Dennis Echoes of the Hunt. He is an Australian composer. That's a pretty cool piece. One of my professors during my master's, Dr. Heidi Lucas, she played it on a recital that I caught a live stream for. Randolph Faust's Call and Response is a cool idea. However, that is unaccompanied. I'd kind of rather something accompanied right now. His Prelude is also unaccompanied. Cat on lap, knocking over mouse. Come on. All right, let's see here. Ruth Gibbs Triton wouldn't be a bad option. The Glazunov Reverie is a really gorgeous work. With Program the Demase, I don't know if I'd want to do another one that's pretty similar. I almost want to do something kind of programmatic, but 5 minutes isn't a whole lot of time. I've already played that Goodenberger, which Mark Goodenberger, it's a really cool piece called Brave Wind for horn and field drum. It's available on IHS's website, or at least it was. Just really neat, cool, like complex meter stuff. And there's some time for improv as well. So it's a really pretty neat piece. Music for solo horn, don't want to do unaccompanied right now. Man, this Ida Gutowski concerto is really interesting to me. It's just short. I don't think it was ever written for orchestra, but it's pretty cool. Just 7 minutes long. Really, there's a lot going on, but there's no recordings of it anywhere, so I don't know. I'm holding her so she stops knocking over stuff. Frank Galino's Tales Untold wouldn't be a bad option. It's a pretty cool piece. That's unaccompanied. Unaccompanied. Actually, so we were at what, 43 minutes? Morrison's Jake's a little long. I don't want to quite hit 50, though that would be a really good option for it. All right. This one. So that Kirchner Lamento de Orfeo is a separately published version of the lament from his three poems. It's a really cool movement. That might not be a bad option. It is very not tonal, but it is a really just interesting piece with some really cool effects. Okay, stop. She's upset that I'm talking to the computer, so she has to be involved. Let's see. I also already have like the opener and closer essentially decided with the introduction rondo and the Saglietti. So I don't want anything to be so punctuated that it would need to fit in one of those. Like Kathy's snapshots would be a really cool piece, but it's definitely fits the role of an opener. I mean, this is a piece I still need to premiere, but Scott Little's March in Song for horn and piano would probably fit within this vein. It definitely could work as an opener. However, it also can have a role otherwise there. This is the hardest part, is when you have to round out. 6 minutes for Brett Miller's Hunting Songs. That wouldn't be a bad option. I've just already performed it. Mozart's Concert Rondo would be cool. Already did that one. Maybe Usama's Evening Reveries coming in with 6 minutes there. That would raise it up to 49 minutes. Actually, let me see here. All right. Should happen. All right. Let's see how. It's not fast, but it definitely has some range jumps that I don't know if I want to. Yeah, we're going pretty low, which isn't a bad thing. But some of the jumps there might be a bit more effort than I want to put in for this program. I'm already performing this work, or this would be a really cool one too. Kate Nishimura's Golden Hour. Long stuff. That Richter would be too similar to the Damaso. What did you do at Jeffy's house wouldn't be a bad option. However, I'm not going to program it just because someone else in our program did program this for his last recital. So I just want to create a little bit of contrast in the studio. Also, I know I get burnt out when I hear the same work too often. Now this is interesting. All right, Roland Zempali's illustrations. Let's see here. I don't remember if I hit share audio, but we're gonna find out. See, my issue with that already is it sounds like an opener. It lets you a little at the conclusion. I'm already registered for that newsletter. This is one of my favorite publishing companies for horn music. All right, so I might make a shift here. I like this work a lot. However, it definitely fits a closer. So, or an opener, one or the other, but let's remove this to put in all the illustrations. That is 7 minutes long. What's my year on that? It's really new, but 2017. So it's funny because normally my programs are generally a lot in the 2000s, but this would be a first I haven't. All right, so if that's 24, then it's up to 31, so we're up to 41. So since I removed an older work, we got 9 minutes to fill with something older. So I'm going to look for, like, actually at the dates. That's way too long. I already played the Rossini, though that could work. See, this is tough because when you have so much stuff to look for, you can mix it up. What about the Schumann Adagio and Allegro? So if I add that, that takes it right to 50 minutes. Average duration 9 minutes. And it's 1849. Cool. That brings us up to exactly 50 minutes if my math is correct. Right? 24, 31, 41, 50. Yes. All right. So then, like, the next process would be for me to order it. So I like the idea of that Sant'Apolli. Right? Opening would be good. I'm going to refresh the page because I think it's just playing from the same spot. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right. So go there. Then something that would be very contrasting to me would be the Damasse. So let me see here. Spotify. Oh, is this?
Do you need 1,000 parts or just
give
one?
a second. Yeah, this is
CNC machining.
This recording is actually a friend of mine, Dr. Matt Hayslip. He's the horn professor at Mississippi State. So that's pretty cool. He's the one that told me about this piece too. Really funny that he was the first one. Beautiful playing, Matt. I'm going to speed up into it. Yeah, very contrasting to this poly. I think that's good. Then an idea here would be to do something still contrasting, probably something a bit longer. The more I look at this, the less I'm thrilled, but that's all right. Sun poly might be a good option after the Demosce. And we could open with the Schumann Adagio and Allegro. And what about the Hindemith? Come on. So then all we have left is the Malcolm Arnold and the Saglietti. So real quick, let me see here. Let's check out the very end. A little too far. Yeah, I think that's a good place for that. So that could serve as kind of a in the middle. And let's check out the Malcolm Arnold Fantasy. Well, we could do Jeff Lynne.
Hi, I'm Jeff Lynne, and I'm going to play the Malcolm Arnold.
Yeah, so that's very contrasting. It makes me think of pirates. So I think that would be obviously optimal next. Finally, the Saglietti. So let's see here, just so that I'm not the only one that knows what's going on.
Friends would walk up to me and just be like, "What the f is in your mug?" And I would just tell them, "It's."
That's the second movement. Let's see more. Okay, this one's with the piano, but I didn't know that Dr. Matlin played this one. Let's go toward the end. So that's definitely a closer. So the recital program would be the Schumann Adagio and Allegro, Damase's Berceuse, Zendbali's Illustrations, and then actually, like, I mean, right after that would probably be a good idea for an intermission. But, yeah, so then the Hindemith Sonata, the Malcolm Arnold Fantasy, and closing with the Saglieri. So that comes to what? That's 9 minutes. The Berceuse is, we said 5. The Illustrations is 7. So typically you do want your first half to be a little bit longer. I think that that's not the case here, but the Hindemith is 12. Yeah, it's definitely not. Malcolm Arnold, we'll say 4. I know I wrote 5 before, but and the Saglieri is 12 as well. And say we'll say 7-minute intermission. So that brings you up to 14, 21, 28, 40, 56 total minutes. So think about the time in between pieces. That would be like if we just said that's just 4 minutes between pieces and movements total, not including the intermission. That brings you up to exactly 1 hour. So that is how I go about programming a recital. I don't know if I would do exactly this recital. However, that is my process. But yeah, cool. Thanks for checking this out. It was really cool.